But throughout history, we've had, women couldn't vote. Now women can vote. Um, there's a particular voting block that's going to look for their appeal because now they're part of the group that can vote. When women got the right to vote, African American women still didn't have the right to vote. So there's been this long process of, okay, now we'll let you in, now we'll let you in. And I feel like as an overall culture, we hold ourselves back when we do that. It's almost like cutting off your nose to spite your face, which is a really old term. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's true. And so most of the groups that have been marginalized over the decades really just wanted an opportunity,
Right.
just like everybody else. And sometimes it puts a bitter taste in your mouth if you've wanted this opportunity and wanted it and been denied for this, been denied for that, and then finally, when there are no other options, they're like, well, okay, you can come on. Many of us in a position where we kind of don't have to do that would definitely decline. And that's your talent right there. Because the only people who will be able to say, well, no, thank you, are the people who are in a position to move and be successful somewhere else. And those are not going to be your, wake up at 9 o'clock, but you're supposed to start at 8 type people. Those are going to be your really valuable workers. And then lastly, you made the point about education and how certain people were encouraged to get education that they can't necessarily use
Mm-hmm.
right now. And I have my thoughts on that. And as I always say, please fact check me. Please come back because one thing I want to do every day when I wake up is learn something. I love to teach. The only thing I like more than teaching is learning. I will say that for a long period of time, I'd have to say post Reconstruction maybe. We've had the system set up whereby if I am a business owner or if I am in charge of hiring, you can come to my place of business and I can say, well, I really want to hire you. I really want to consider you, but one of our requirements is that you have a fill in the blank. Okay, well, you don't have it. Someone can come behind you that for whatever reason I feel more comfortable with. Maybe we play ball together, or maybe they look like one of my favorite cousins, or whatever it is. And they can come in because I'm the decision maker. I get to say, well, you don't really need that, wink, wink. So multiply that by like a gazillion, and you can figure out why we are where we are. There are an awful lot of people. At one point, I would include myself in that number, and thank goodness I was able to pay back my entire undergraduate student loan. But what I will say is, I did not go to undergraduate school, and my parents didn't encourage me to so that I could say I did, or so that I could meet nice people, or that was a strategic career move so that I would not get caught up in a situation where I went someplace and they were like, "Well, you need a bachelor's degree and you don't have one, so sorry." Um, but the rub on that is it continues to happen. Now 3 degrees in, it continues to happen. And so it's almost like the shell game on the back of the bus where like the 3 card molly, and you feel that way. You feel it's like an extremely expensive game of 3 card molly. Meanwhile, you have these apprenticeship programs that are just now opening up to, like I said before, previously marginalized groups because they've run out of people. In the state where I live, I'm very proud to say we started an initiative. I got to work on the front end of this initiative, Drive to 55, where we wanted to bring, as a state, wanted to bring people back in who had some college but no degree or certificate to be able to grow our labor pool. Because what we realized statistically was that if we depended on the traditional track, elementary school, middle school, high school, and then workforce, we were not going to have enough people in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we're behind the 8 ball. We're like, okay, well, we really weren't looking at adult learners before, but seeing as how we're running out of people, why don't we look at them? I propose, why don't we start looking at these groups before we need to? That's how you pipeline.
Yep. Yeah. that reminds me of, and you see it again with China and India. I don't know if you've seen the Bee movie. I think it's like Jerry Seinfeld plays the bee or whatever. But I mean, it's actually how real bees kind of do their thing. But basically, the movie, you're once you're born, you're a bee. You have one day where you decide what job you want, and then you have that job for the rest of your life. And behind that, the idea is, how can I just pick this job and I have to stay with it the rest of my life? But also, what you see is everybody has their like niche. They're like, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do it forever. But everybody has a job that they're good at, that they learn to do, and that they stick with. And there's not anything where it's like, okay, you might take this job, but then, or you go down this path, but you won't have a job at the end of it, or you go down this path and you won't be able to contribute. So that's just kind of what I think of when I think of the United States. We have so many people who go into these, let's say, majors or whatever. They're like, okay, I want to do this. And then they come out in the job field and there aren't any jobs for them. And that's kind of the issue that I think it's not only a cultural issue for certain groups of people in America, but for America as a whole. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have to basically import so many people from other countries, specifically in the STEM fields, because we're not teaching our kids from a young age, hey, this is what you need to do. These are the jobs that we need here. China's doing that. India's doing that. But we don't want them over here. Why don't we just do what they're doing? That's one thing I see in business so often, just in the line of work that I do. If I go to a client or potential client, I say, hey, I have this. Would you all be interested in it? First thing they're going to ask is, well, do you do it for those people over there? Do these people do it? And if I say yes, they'll be like, yeah, we'll take what they're having. Just because it's really that simple. And instead of them, you can just tell that certain people are about success, their goals, and getting their money. And a lot of people who vote a certain way, they say they're about that, but they're really not. Because if you did 5 minutes of research, you would see, oh, really? I don't even know why I'm out here doing what I'm doing. I need to get to work or do something other than putting, political stickers on the back of my bumper. It's just crazy to me.
Well, I don't know. I think that so recently I traveled, and on a flight back there was tornadic activity in the area, and so it was a pretty bumpy flight back. Our oxygen mask did not fall down, but had they fallen down, obviously I would have put one on. I didn't need to because I already had oxygen. Like, how many times a day do you really think about oxygen? I had a physical recently. They put this little thing on my finger, and they're like, "Oh, you're taking in 100% oxygen. Good. Thanks for letting me know." Like, you don't think about things often until you really need it. Now, if it's something you're pining for, you really want a new outfit or whatever it is, then that's gonna be on your mind. And whenever you see something that's even slightly resembling what you want, it puts it back on your mind. Yeah. But stuff like oxygen, if I'm being honest, I don't even really think about water. Again, unless I'm traveling.